So we are going to go over JavaScript promises now. So what a promise is, just going off the Mozilla Developer Network site, is an object used for asynchronous computations. A promise represents a value that may be available now, in the future, or never. So let's take, for example, a real life kind of example here that says you're going to go buy a house. So you walk into a bank and you get approved for a loan. When you get approved for that loan, you don't actually get the money until you come back with a contract to buy a house. So by getting that approval for the loan, the bank has promised to give you money in the future once you have successfully negotiated your contract. So promises do pretty much that exact same thing. They have a function, or what they're calling to be an executor, that runs, and when that comes back successfully, they're going to resolve their promise. So then in that case, the resolve would be the bank actually giving you the money to purchase your house. If you come back and say, bank, I couldn't get a purchase or a contract, or I want to buy a house that's more than you approved me for, they might reject your loan or say, no, I can't do that, and in theory throw you an error. So that, at a very high level overview, is what a promise does. Let's jump into some code real quick and kind of give you more of a visual example of what it might be. So I'm going to create a new function here called myFirstPromise. That's going to be equal to a new promise. A promise takes a function as a parameter. And some of you might be saying, oh, hey, you are not using ES6 arrow functions. Why aren't you using ES6 arrow functions? And because this video is about promises, not arrow functions, and everybody watching this video may not be familiar with arrow functions. So yeah, so this takes the resolve and reject. So when you're, what do they call it? The executor runs, which is this right here, you can do a bunch of different things. You can do, let's do some console logs. First thing. So there we got thing there. First thing, second thing, and then let's say after that, you're saying, okay, I'm done. I've succeeded doing what I needed to do. I'm going to resolve and say I win. So you resolved, everything went well, you win. Okay. So let's go ahead and run, or let's just console log my first promise. So just think ahead, what are you expecting to be in the console? You might be thinking it's going to be I win. We are going to see first thing, second thing, but you would expect to see I win off the top of your head. Let's go back to the browser and let's run, and notice I'm in promises.html now, and refresh it. And we get first thing, second thing, but the third thing we get back is a promise object. Well, I thought when we resolved, we were done. So a new promise always returns a promise. So by that, I mean that you can see that we have a promise object here. And on that, you've got a promise status is resolved, which means we ran the resolved function, and the value is I win. So how do we get access to I win? So if we go back to MDN, to call your resolve or reject, we have a promise.then and a promise.catch, which will catch errors. So if you go down to promise.then, this is what you'll run once your promise has been fulfilled. So you can see p.then on fulfilled, and then there you can kind of run your code in there based on what is fulfilled. So we're going to do my first promise dot then, which is going to then take a it's going to take a function here. So go ahead and pass in a function. And what that function is going to take as an argument is what is returned from your resolve. So we'll just call it response. And then down here, I can console.log response. And that should, if I do everything as I expect it to, and hopefully I should get I win. Let's go back to our code, refresh, and we get I win. So, what is the point? Why would we ever use promises? So let's say, what am I trying to get here? We want to use this in some sort of AJAX call. We have to wait for something to return. So we'll simulate this real quick just with a timeout. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and keep that. I'm going to comment that out. And we should make another, we'll call it second promise. It's going to be equal to a function or equal to a new promise that takes a function, that takes resolve, that takes reject, and we're going to console.log starting. And then at the end, we're going to do console.log finished. But inside of here, we're going to simulate calling out to a function by doing a set timeout, which takes a function, and then we're going to wait 3 seconds. And after that, we're just going to say console.log, we got a response. And before this, let's say we're just going to for promise and copy that. And so let's go ahead and let's just do console.log, oops. Sorry, we're going to resolve our promise real quick. Second promise dot then, which takes the function and the response from our promise. And then we're just going to I think actually we could probably just let's go ahead and let's make this a return. And then we can down here, we can console.log. What that return does is it should just populate this response with that return statement. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our browser and refresh. So we got before promise, starting, finished, after promise. And I realized I made a mistake. We don't need to return, we need to resolve our promise. Save that, come back, refresh, 1, 2, 3, we got a problem, there we go. So you'll see how that comes after, before, starting, finish, and after. So before, starting, finished and after. So even though the code was inside or before the after, this didn't actually happen until our quote unquote recall got returned. So hopefully that gives you a quick overview of how a promise works. In the next video, I will kind of go into a better, more like real world example.